all. So that
It's
is
okay. Go ahead and start talking. I'll be right back.
all right. That's interesting. So welcome back to the Trial and Error live stream. Um, this week I needed a like I'm kind of circling, like I've had so much stuff going on, and it's not a bad thing. Like I'm in a season of abundance when it comes to opportunities, and I have not been disciplined on saying no to things, and so I'm taking on a lot of different things. And so since I'm in that season of abundance with opportunities, I'm kind of tiptoeing on the verge of some burnout mentally. And so I wanted to do an episode that is still tied to development and entrepreneurship and kind of the message of what we've been doing, but I needed something that was a little bit like that was a little bit of a departure from a small one. So on today's episode, I want to talk about the concept of I strongly and earnestly believe that online discourse is cooked. And what we have is we've have our online discourse, our ability to communicate with one another and exchange ideas and debate ideas in the public square has given way to debate me, bro culture. And we have entire, sorry, I'm doing getting my lights right. We have entire like an entire online arm where it is nothing but people yelling ideas at one another, yelling points at one another, and people are calling that debate. Um, Now, I'm talking about debate in the rhetorical sense, where debate is I present my ideas, you present your ideas, you refute, and stuff like that. What we see now is I want to yell, I want to basically, and those that understand what I'm about to say are going to get it. There's a thing called the Gish Gallop, and a Gish Gallop is where you sit in front of somebody that you are debating, and you fire off point after point after point after point after point, and question after question after question after question in one setting, and you never give them any foothold to answer anything. And then if they fail to answer one point, or if they misspeak on one thing, you use that to overturn their entire argument. And it feels like online discourse has just turned into a litany of that. And um, there's some other aspects of this too, that are a little bit more insidious, that seep over into the personal development space that Fearless kind of brought up before we came on the stream. But um, well, the thing that sparked me was actually, and I'm probably going to be live streaming about this. I'm kind of deciding if I want to do a live reaction to it, of my reaction as I'm watching it, because I had to turn it off. Is the latest Jubilee thing with Amanda Seals and her debating 20 Black conservatives. And those that know me know that that is as far from my ideology as possible. But I didn't turn it off because of I didn't agree with the politics. I just turned it off because I was tired of hearing poorly phrased or poorly articulated arguments being yelled at somebody. And so I feel like online discourse is cooked. To put it bluntly, I feel like online discourse and our ability to debate ideas in the public square is cooked because of how we treat it, like everything like a competition. So Fearless had an interesting frame on this, and so I kind of want to follow up on him with it, in terms of the Warren Buffett example that you gave.
Right. So, sorry, I'm clearing my desk. Um, so the way that I look at some of this is this. If you were arguing, if you were discussing investments, and Brian and I are discussing investments, there's no reason for us to sit there and argue it, because you can show me what you're talking about. The one thing that I've noticed about those things, those so-called debates, is that no one's fact checking anything that anyone's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. So there was a guy in what's his name? Charlie. Something. What's that racist dude?
Charlie Kirk.
There you go.
Yeah.
So here, there was let's see, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but um he was talking about black people and how we are um we're the most people that are in prison. We are, which is actually not true
Right.
whatsoever. Actually, the most, the greatest number of race that's in jail are white people. Second are black people. But he's like, we also are the ones that commit most of the murders. We commit most of the crimes, so therefore we're in jail more than anybody else. Problem with that is, and again, if you start fact checking, not just in there talking, because when we're talking about an argument that you consistently keep hearing the media give about black and brown people and this that, and the other. You would think that we have a cabal of evil,
Hmm.
right? That for some reason it's almost like nobody else commits any of these other crimes. But the one thing that he never talked about was that these same people, black people, that were more than justified being in prison for murders and this and the other, were also the number one exonerated
Yep.
out of every. Hold on, let me know my thing. Out of every person in prison, right? We're the most exonerated, which basically means we are more likely to be thrown in jail. So you're guilty first, and then we'll prove your innocence later. Think about that. You're guilty now until you're proven innocent. And most of the time, I have a whole library behind me of people that were in unjustly put in prison only to be let out 20, 30, 40 years later.
Right.
But because of a jury of their peers. So
Right.
you have this guy, Charlie Kirk, who sits around saying that, well, all of these black people are in jail for all of these different reasons. But when you talk quick, when you do this and the other, you could be like, man, that doesn't sound right. But nobody's fact checking anything that either side says. So one of the things that Dr. And I love calling him
Hmm.
Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about is that he said debate debating a person is not about what's true.
Right.
Debating a person is all about who has a better argument.
Exactly.
Think
And
about think about that for a minute. And I'm not talking to you, bro. I'm talking to y'all. Y'all think about that. Debating is not about right or wrong. It's based on who has a better argument. Right or wrong can, for the most part, be determined based on proof. Show me. I can, off the top of my head, but I can even do it better. If I have a computer in front of me,
hmm
that all the times a person was exonerated because the other side had the information that could have sprung that person free before we even started the trial,
right.
kept never said anything. Let that man go to prison for nothing while you let the real killer or killers in plural go free. So again, I don't watch arguments like that.
Hmm.
I don't watch them. And the reason why I don't watch them is because a lot of it is not based in proof. It's
So
in it's based in armchair theory. If I showed you what these people said, perfect. And again, they go through references. Well, well, the DOJ says blah 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 blah. The FBI says blah 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 blah. these are not independent groups that have nothing to gain by giving you dismissive information. They don't. So therefore, to sit there and listen to this as it's fact, it's a farce. So that's my go ahead.
So a lot of it, and this is the argumentation piece of it. So a lot of it actually is intentionally misunderstanding what the statistical data means. Because one thing is, a lot of these people aren't really educated in statistics, and they can't really parse statistical data or parse study data and stuff like that, or parse the crime numbers. I actually, and so I'm gonna give you, and I hate to read resumes and stuff, but I actually sat on crime commissions. I actually sat on youth crime. Like, that was my old life, sitting on youth crime commissions, going to these meetings, talking to all these people at the higher level, working juvenile justice, all this stuff. So when you start parsing the data and literally start parsing it, and oh, thanks for the comment, Chris. I popped it up on the screen. This is something I'm gonna get back to here in a second. One of the things is, when you're talking about raw numbers and raw percentages, and I think Michael Harriot kind of broke this down. And I got to pull it. I got to find where he did it, because he has a lot of stuff like that, a lot of really number and data driven things. But you're talking about, when they're talking about percentage of people locked up for crimes and stuff like that, what you're talking about is a very, 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 very a sliver of the total population of Black people. A sliver. More times than not, the people that are entrapped in the system, in the criminal justice system, it is set up for you to reoffend. It's literally set up and built upon the fact that you are going to be a repeat visitor. You're going to commit another crime. And so you're taking the people that have committed multiple crimes time and time again, and you're taking that and generalizing it to the Black population as a whole. And I think the number was something like 99.5 or something like that percent of Black people are not criminals. Like, it's a number that is so big that the number of actual people, that Black folks that would fall into that pocket, would be almost, depending on who's looking at it, would be statistically irrelevant, like, compared to the larger population. But it's ignoring that fact and taking on the raw data and then misinterpreting the raw data. And so one of the interesting things that you mentioned specifically with Charlie Kirk, and it was a point that I mentioned off stream, Charlie Kirk is an ideologue. And so what that kind of means is his ideas take precedent over everything. His beliefs take precedent over everything that he does. And so even when presented with actual, like, factual information, he will take that factual information and twist it to suit his ideas. And there's no point in debating somebody like that, where all provable facts are just up for interpretation. And so he's actually taking, and you could tell the ideologue, because they'll take data, and instead of looking at data and understanding that statistics can be used in any ways, and a lot of times what the percentages are is based on what question you're asking. Does that make sense? Like, what the actual numbers are is really dependent on how you're phrasing the question. And it goes into the fact that there's syntax in, like, yes, regular language has syntax and stuff, but numbers have syntax too. And so numbers have meanings based on the order and symbology and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But I'm saying that you can make statistics literally prove anything and prove nothing at the same time. And that's the trick that he's doing. And I think the thing that's frustrating about a person like a Charlie Kirk, or even I'll extend it to Ben Shapiro or any one of these other racist talking heads out there, is they're presenting these ideas and these things that they're quoting as new. And they're not. Like, some of the talking points Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens too, I've seen it. Some of the talking points that they throw out have literally been circulating the internet since the days when Stormfront, that neo-Nazi website, started. And they started in the statistics game. It started citing crime statistics. That's where it started. This stuff is not new. And Stormfront is over 20 years old. It's been around for almost the entire time of mainstream internet use. That's where a lot of these data points and talking points come from. And so when we see them cite these points, they'll do it in a vacuum. If you notice that, they'll do it in a vacuum where there's nobody there to push back on the idea. And so when they're faced with people actually pushing back on the idea, instantly they go into the Gish Gallop. I'm going to blitz you with talking points, and you're not going to be able to answer any one of them. Or you're going to miss one, and I'm going to use that to jump down your throat and try to disprove everything in your argument. And so that's the framing of it. Charlie Kirk is an expert at it. Like I said, he's the face of a white nationalist think tank. And as a result of him being so adjacent to white nationalists, that automatically makes him an ideologue, because a lot of the things in white nationalism is based on ideas and not factual information. So,
or at least they'll say, well, racism doesn't exist, or all these things are done and this and the other. And it's kind of like, to me, it's a lot of it is like based on, what is that one law that they have where you can't prosecute
double
you
jeopardy?
No, that's if you can't be tried for the same crime twice. What is it?
Qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity. That's almost like that there, right? Where the reason why we can't sue police officers or judges or prosecution is because of that. Now, here's the thing. What people don't understand, and I would tell a person go look that up. Qualified immunity. Matter of fact, you know what? Here, I don't want to be a victim of the same shit that we're talking to other people about, and we're doing the same thing. So here, watch this. I'm going to bring up, excuse me, I'm going to show it to you.
Okay.
All right, so where are we at? Okay. So we're going to bring it up. Qualify. That's what I call it, qualified immunity, right?
Right. The crazy part about it is, in order to get caught, like the bar to actually remove qualified immunity in a case is so high that you have to prove that the person's conduct was egregious and actually a deprivation of your rights. You have to have a judge decide that another judge or another cop or a police officer has actually maliciously removed your rights. Like, it's such a ridiculous bar. And they look at it like, and I'm giving my opinion on it, but Fearless is pulling it up. They see it as this Pandora's box because of the lack of accountability.
Okay, can you see my?
I can see your screen.
Okay, so if you look down here, bars to claim it. So this is, how do you claim this? If no such prior case exists, the official receives qualified immunity, even if a constitutional violation has occurred. So that is the reason why, if you look at majority of people who get off for like beating the shit out of O.J. Simpson, well, what's the other one? Killing. Let me rephrase that. Murdering George Floyd.
Yeah.
Y'all can say that he had this in his stomach and this, that, and the other. You can say whatever you want. If I put my knee on your neck for 8 to 9 minutes, you're gonna die.
Right.
That is a fact. You can say that he had a cold, that he was laying on top of a unicorn. You can say whatever you want, but that's what it is. So here's the thing. Qualified immunity is a judge-made rule, not a law passed by Congress, that originated from interpretations of the Civil Rights Act. No, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
known as the Ku Klux Klan Act, which is really funny. So basically, this means similar. So a similar precedent has to proceed, but not just that, but somebody has had to have been found guilty of this. So when that dude was screaming, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe," all the cops had to say was, "Well, I was in fear of my life."
Yeah.
Like, so you have to actually prove that they knowingly violated your constitutional right to life. If a person gets out their car and the first thing they do is put their hand on a gun, if you got out your car and put that animal down, you're going to jail. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to jail for murder. Now, you can say all day long, well, I was scared for my life. One goes into one, but one does not go into the other. Because they the government expects for you to listen and obey the peace officer. So the thing is that once a person gets out of their car, they are automatically in charge of whatever the situation might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they feel that their life is in danger, then they're within their rights, not not as a cop, but as a person to defend themselves. So, but let's go over here. It says qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials. Okay, now let me, okay, including police officers from civil liability when
Yeah.
performing their discretionary duties unless their conduct violates clearly established statutory and constitutional rights. It requires showing both a constitutional violation and that the right was clearly established by a previous court by a previous court case with significantly similar facts. What does that mean? That means that when those white cops beat the fuck out of Rodney King,
Yeah.
there was nothing previously that stated that what they were doing was violating his civil rights.
Right.
Okay? Nothing constituted that because they kept saying that he just wouldn't stay down. So beating the fuck out of him was the only way to contain the situation, right? So all these years later, right, murdering George Floyd, and I say murder because it's murder, murdering George Floyd, there was no previous, like it says here, unless it violates clearly an established statutory or constitutional rights involving requires show a constitutional violation that is clearly established by a previous court case with significantly similar facts. That dude kept saying, "I can't breathe." Who else said that? What's homeboy out of New York
Well, I think it was Maryland too,
and
and New
Maryland?
Orleans. In New
Okay,
Orleans,
so all these individuals said that I can't breathe. I
it was
can't breathe. Show me one case where any of them, the police officers, were actually arrested and brought to justice for that. So technically, before it, there was no previous case with similar facts where somebody was clearly in violation of their rights.
well, and here's the thing too,
Well, one
because
more second, one more second, one more
yeah,
second. The doctrine is controversial, with critics arguing it allows officials to avoid accountability for misconduct, while supporters believe it's necessary to protect public officials from frivolous lawsuits
it's
and
ridiculous.
allows them to perform their jobs effectively. Now, hold on, before before we really get into this, I want to say something. I want to say something. This is really crazy because if you really think about this, if it was just cops that were protected by qualified immunity would have been disbanded years ago.
Yep.
I'm going to say it one more time. If it was just cops that were protected by qualified immunity, it would have been disbanded years ago. Okay. And I'm going to say that number one.
Mhm.
The reason why it is not disbanded is because what is the first thing that it says? Qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials,
Yeah.
including police and police officers.
Yep.
So, qualified immunity was not set up for cops. It was set up for government officials because if they were allowed to fuck you over, you can't hold them liable.
Right.
That's it. So, to get rid of qualified immunity, it's to get rid of theirs too.
Yep. And they ain't gonna do it.
It will never go away. So, I'm going to tell you how to fight it. You want to know how to fight it? You seriously,
Yeah.
would you like to know how to fight this?
Sure. Yeah.
2 words. Do you want to know what it is?
Go for it.
Life insurance. Life insurance. Life insurance stops qualified immunity.
You gotta expand on that one.
So, so many of us we think that police are killing us at an exorbitant rate. That might be possible. I don't know. I don't have the facts in front of me. So, this is what I will say. If I know that the police or government officials are hurting people, get life insurance. Because what's going to happen is that if you keep killing these particular individuals
Mm-hmm.
and the life insurance companies have to keep paying out for the deaths of the people that you keep killing, what do you think is going to happen to to these State Farm, State Family, all these other people? They're going to start suing police departments, and then they're going to not cover you anymore. You're they're going to have to start keeping insurance because they're going to get sued. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you get financially fondled, people stop fucking with you. When the boycott happened, people think that was only for a couple weeks, couple months. It was over a year that black people stopped riding those buses. Over a year. So people was like, nah, we cool on that. So certain people thought, go ahead, keep going. You
Well,
need to go do something?
well, no, I'm looking at it like the other side is to add more context to it. Um, it actually turned violent, like where they were like actively like during the bus boycott, they were actively trying to hunt down and arrest and harm the people that they thought were the leaders of it to break the boycott because it was actually doing harm to the bottom line of the city and whoever
Yeah,
else, and it was
yes.
actually destroying their ability. And there's plenty of instances where
People
um
were arrested. Their cars were blown up.
yeah,
Cars repossessed. They were doing everything that they could to get people back on them buses.
well, and it's happened in other places in Mississippi specifically. um Black people actually put in their own kind of police force whose job was to go around and make sure other black people were keeping a boycott. And if they were caught, if they're caught shopping at uh stores that were being boycotted, and this might be just an exclusive Mississippi thing. That's the only theory that I've heard this happen in, but I think it might have happened in other places. If they were caught breaking that boycott, there were repercussions, and these were physical repercussions.
I
You
didn't
might
know
get,
that.
yeah, you might get jumped, you might get beat up. It's in the book We Will Shoot Back.
Say less.
Um,
Hold on, have I read that? Oh my gosh.
because
Oh,
they
talk
talk
nasty to me.
they
You
talk about
talking
it.
you talking nasty. Stop talking nasty.
They talking about um like it talks about the theater, specifically the civil rights theater and armed resistance in the Mississippi theater of the civil rights era and the history of, because Mississippi is unique because of how much armed resistance they actually had during that era. And there's a lot of documented case of black folks arming
God,
themselves, right?
why I never heard of this?
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I met my kids were me and I had my kids listening to it last year too. um
Say less.
and so
I'm about to get this.
it goes into,
Got it. It's done.
there's
Got it.
there's that one, there's Negro with Guns, Negroes with Guns. This is written by the guy who started the black armed, I forgot, it was the black armed force or something along those lines. He's a former military guy. He's actually the one that provided security for Rosa Parks, and was responsible for helping getting her down to Cuba for a while when they were trying to kill her. But in North Carolina, in his town, he actually got the KKK banned because he actually they were trying to come burn down the NAACP headquarters in his town in North Carolina, and they put sandbags and basically created a trench around the the building, and were having shootouts with the Klan, to the point where it got so violent where the mayor actually said the Klan is outlawed in this town. So
Really?
yeah, and so he was called the Black Armed Guard, and he wrote a book called Negroes with Guns, which is, you want to check that one out too.
Yeah, I got it too.
And
Party
so
party.
and so the
Excuse me.
specifically the theater in Mississippi, um there was a lot of, and I tell people offhand and people don't believe me, but I was like, it took a lot of armed black people to make the civil rights nonviolent era viable. And people don't understand, it was two arms of, it was two arms, and they weren't working in opposition with each other. The armed part of the civil rights movement protected the nonviolent part. They provided security.
Ah,
People don't
that,
know.
that makes sense.
People don't know
That
that
makes a lot of sense.
people don't know that Medgar Evers specifically, um, a lot of his, because he was the face of a lot of stuff, and they actually had to moderate a lot of his stances because he was studying the Mau Mau uprising,
I
and
know that.
that's
Yeah,
what
the
of
Mao out of Africa.
yeah.
You, yeah.
It,
Whoa.
and so he was about arming people. Um, I tell people offhand all the time, like if you ran up on, like in the early stages of MLK's being on the
They were
national stage.
strapped.
Yeah,
They were. It was by Bayard Rustin
yeah,
who told them nonviolent means nonviolent.
yeah.
It was him who technically was the pre-king before king.
If you ran up on MLK when he wasn't at a march, like when he wasn't not public facing and engaging in nonviolence as a strategy, you would get shot. And he might be the one that shoots you. So I think people misconstrue a lot of.
Wouldn't that be, bro? Wouldn't that be a hell of a Dr. King movie if you ran up? I have a dream,
Mhm.
and he, reach up on a click, click. That one day, you know what I'm saying? And they continued on with his speech,
They said
but knowing that he's strapped, like,
he had an
oh,
arsenal. They said they called his house an arsenal. They called it a fortification. He had an arsenal in his house until he had a change of heart in terms of being the face of the movement. And so people don't understand
right,
that
but
side
that
of it.
change of heart came from Bernard Rushton.
Yep.
That's who it came from, because he was the one who studied uh,
Gandhi.
Gandhi. But I think that if he would have understood just how Gandhi felt about black people, maybe he'd have taken a different maybe he'd have taken a different approach on that. Because
Yep.
Gandhi wasn't messing with black people like that at all.
Well, yeah, and that's the other side.
At all.
Gandhi was a huge racist. Like you should hear how he talks about South Africans. He
Like,
talked
man,
crazy. And so
man.
the Negroes with Guns, that was I had to look it up because I wanted to make sure I got his name
No,
right.
I already got it.
It was Robert, but Robert F. Williams is the gentleman I was is referring to. And so but yeah, that book talks about the theater of it. And so kind of jumping back to what we were saying, a lot of times when we're talking about this qualified immunity stuff, it's not going to get overturned because it's a protection. You know, the judges aren't going to they're not going to remove the aspect that prevents them from getting sued. Like that's just not going to happen. And so what happens is like you have to be found criminally liable. Like that judge that was selling kids to those boot camps and stuff like that. There was a criminal liability to it. Hell, we actually had a judge here that had a weird relationship with when I was doing case management, we had a judge here that had a strange relationship with the Texas boot camp that we ended up having to call CPS on because of one of the kids that we got from them. Just because of what some of the stuff he reported. We had to actually call Texas CPS to have them investigated. And eventually I think they got shut down. But the judge liked that specific boot camp. And I'm not going to say he or she, but they would force basically kids to that boot camp. And I don't know what the
And then they would get like a kickback.
I don't know. I cannot say. I just knew they had a weird relationship with that specific camp. I cannot say that that they were getting something, but I do know that this was not the first kid that came in their courtroom that they funneled down to that. And this specific judge got in trouble for overstepping their bounds in the juvenile court by detaining parents for something that their kid did. And they got in huge trouble because the parents actually were of means. This judge was used to bullying parents that were living in poverty. And then they tried that shit with parents that actually had means. And those parents said, we have lawyers. And that judge ended up getting a sanction against them because of how they conducted themselves in that court system. And I'll tell you, if you want to know one of the most powerful court systems in the state of Nebraska, it is the juvenile court system because it is unchecked. And a lot of times those judges are able to basically create laws on the fly. And some of them use that power for good. Some of them use it to just enforce their will on families. So that's besides the point. They're not going to get rid of qualified immunity based on that.
Cops, not at all.
And so what we're talking about it is, and we're talking about systemic, like, because here's the thing, and this is one of the things that actually this is one political thing that did piss me off in that, because we're talking about ideologues, right? And we're talking about that Jubilee interview with Amanda Seals. Gotcha. And so it happened last week. One of the things on there, it was 20 black conservatives, and this is the part where I actually physically turned the video off. They brought in a little brother. Hold on 1 second.
I saw that.
Hold on 1 second. I got to answer this because this is important.
So I think that my guy was talking about the Amanda Seals was on with this little young black conservative, and basically what he was saying was that he didn't recognize any of those things. Racism did not exist, and all kinds of other stuff or whatever. And it was like, wow. And again, here's the thing about that. And I'll argue for it. Matter of fact, can we play some of it?
I'm okay. I was considering that. Jubilee is very aggressive in enforcing their copyrights, because I was looking at it from my stream and I'm terrified to do it because they will hit you with a copyright claim.
Right, but we're not making any money.
I understand, but we're not making any money. But I don't want. I'm scared to play. Like, I am scared to play clips from them because they'll knock down channels behind that. Like, I've seen it happen. They had one that
Really?
went really super public, and it was Able and Preach, and they were able to debate the copyright claims, but it was a month-long process.
Hmm.
But I've seen people pull up clips and debate it, so I'm leery about it. Um, I'll pull it up and kind of see. I want to say it before I forget it. The piece that I was talking about was when I so Amanda Seals is on there, and they brought on this little brother, and I say little brother because he is young. He was young-ish, and she was talking about redlining, right? And he's like, "Well, I don't believe that happened." And she's like, "There's empirical data to prove that redlining was a thing. I don't believe that happened." So I'm telling you a factual, a historically documented thing that actually happened, and you're saying I don't believe in that. Instantly, to me, in my mind, instantly that disqualifies any further discussion or debate with you.
But that's my point.
Yeah,
There's nothing else to talk about.
yeah,
So here's the thing. I think that majority of these will go okay if people can actually understand what common ground can you come to. What common ground do we stand on? Right?
yeah.
And then we can say, okay, what do we disagree with on this particular topic, right? Because I think that if we can at least come to an understanding of I stand, this is where I stand, and this is where we stand together.
Yeah,
No matter what, we're cool right here, right?
yeah.
I think that works. I think that works well. Um, I,
It, it, it's it,
go ahead.
it's what we talked about earlier this year, having a moral anchor. Your argument has to have a moral anchor. We have to have some baseline of established reality that we are arguing with. Because if there is no moral anchor, if you believe in this thing independent of facts, then we can't debate if
There is no
you
debate.
are if you are existing in a separate reality from I. We can't agree on a reality that we both exist in. How can we debate? How can we have an intelligent, informed debate if we can't even agree on a factual reality of what we exist in? And so that's what we're saying with the ground.
So here's the thing. It's like this. If you and I are talking about something, we can debate, argue all day long.
Yeah.
We can do that all day long. The question then remains, is there anything that I can say to you? Is there any information I can give you that would get you to change your mind
Right.
about this? Right? Is there anything I could say? No. Is there anything I can show you? Sure. Show me the evidence.
Right.
Right? So when he said, I don't believe you, cool. And that's why that's why I don't like the Jubilee thing, because there is no fact checking. It's based on what I say, what you heard. So it's based on two different realities.
Yeah.
That young black man, he may not have ever. And I know people like that are black that have never been taught anything other than what's right there in front of them.
And so, yeah, and that's the problem. And so I want to show you this because I'm not showing y'all clips from Jubilee. So please don't come after us. We're a small time. Y'all don't need to come after us yet. Here's what I'm gonna show you though. When we talk about, because Jubilee kind of sparked this whole trend thing. I want to show you something on this page. You see where I'm at? You see where it says "want to be in a video," right? What does that say? What does that word say?
Casting.
So, do you think that somebody who responds to this is coming on because they're looking for a hearty debate,
Not at all.
or they're trying to raise their social profile and be seen and go viral with something?
That's it. That's all it is. Because, and you know what's funny on that is that thank you for saying that. Thank you for showing it. Because I didn't know that's how they're getting on there. I had no idea.
Yep. They they
Wow.
one of the cats on there, and I'm not even hating on him. He flipped his jubilee seat into a Twitter live stream where he sits there and actually has MAGA people come on, and he does do real time fact checking, and he does argue with them, and he actually pulls up facts and statistics in front of them
Are
and
you
throws
talking
them in
about
their
that
face.
young man?
Yeah,
The young white kid?
yes,
When he sits in front of a computer?
yeah,
He's
that's
like,
what he.
yeah, nope,
Yeah,
nope. I'm looking right at it. That's not what it says. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't mind watching stuff like that.
yeah.
But again, show me what you're looking at. Show me where it is. Is it an independent, unbiased? But wait, do you went to that school for journalism? You know what
Mhm.
I'm talking. What am I
Yeah.
asking? What am I saying? Is it unbiased? Is it unscripted? What were you looking for? Information, facts. What are you looking for?
So what I'm looking for when I check facts from, yeah, one thing is, like, when I used to have to write, and I started an article about a lot of the propagation of. That was my last article that I actually wrote for my website, and I never published it because of the death threats I was getting. Um, I was actually
That's
getting
why.
death.
That's why you should publish it.
And so one of the things is I was writing this big article that was going to talk about, and this was like 2015, 2016, the propagation and rise of white nationalists in on social media. And initially it was, before it became the MAGA movement, it was something else. And so the way I was checking facts was I was going to figure out if I would hear something that was a fact, I would go and I would take one source and say, okay, I cannot utilize this source again to prove this thing. I have to find multiple sources and I have to have multiple citations so that I can say this thing is an empirical fact. And I need to understand how they reached this fact. So I need, if there's a research study that needs to be pulled, I need to not only pull that research study, but make sure I actually understand and comprehend what's being said in that study. And so that's how it was an intensive process. People don't understand when you're actually doing real, like, writing that's fact based, it's a slow process because the majority of your time is spent actually doing research and making sure that the things that you say have a factual basis and you're getting it from multiple sources and not just one source that will tilt something to advance an argument. And so that was the threshold that I used to determine what it is. And it's not easy to apply in the framework of life, and I don't expect people to always do that. But what I do is, and I know this is not something a lot of people do, I have no problem with saying, yeah, I learned more about that and I wasn't correct.
Hmm.
I've gotten new information, and so that's kind of changed my perspective on that. I've relinquished that talking point because I found out new stuff. That's how I exist, and that's how I live my life. If I find something new that 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 overturns a established belief, then I revise the belief if it's not proven to be factually accurate, and that comes from the journal, going to school for journalism and understanding kind of a process of how to do fact-based stuff. Now, I always say this: good journalism is not unbiased. Good journalism has a bias towards the truth.
Hmm.
It has a strong bias towards the truth, no matter what the truth actually is, based on the facts of the situation. So when somebody says, I want my news to be unbiased, what you're saying is, I want it stripped of, I just want things presented to me, and it doesn't really definitively state what's true or what's not true. And
Okay.
so good journalism is biased towards what's true. And I think a lot of people struggle with that aspect of it.
Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
I put this on here because I wanted to. So fact checking typically involves 5 core steps. Um, through the process can be explained, expanded, or condensed depending on the depth required. So it says about 5. Number 1, claim. Identify the claim. What's what specifically has been stated? Is it a statistic, quote, date, or event?
Hmm.
Clarify here. Clarity here is key before moving on. So, what is the claim? Is the claim that black people are more violent? Is this a quote? Is this a date? Is this an event?
Hmm.
Where are you getting this information from? Who says it? That's where your who, what, where, why, when, how, and if comes from. Number 2, source the original context. Where did it come from? That's the who said it. Sorry, that's number 2.
Hmm.
Who said it? When did they say it? And what medium? Article, speech, social post. I'll give you an example on this. There's a book. He was a millionaire at the time. He is. I keep hearing that he is the father of modern education.
Hmm.
He was a millionaire. He may even been a billionaire at the time. Which one was it?
I don't know.
During the early 1900s.
There's the not the Rothschilds. I know
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller. I think it might be the Rockefellers.
So I think it was, yeah, I think it was Rockefeller. So anyway, it is stated. Hold on one sec. Watch this. I'm gonna try to go into it. Okay, Rocker. Yep, it was J.D. Rockefeller
Hmm.
and education quote. Okay, there was one. Hold on. There was It was said about him. Okay, hold on. If you want to say, yeah, that's not what it.
Well,
There was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, and I'm kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying though earlier, where um, one of the considerations you have to have, and I strongly believe this one: am I qualified to debate this topic? Am I like I can have an opinion about something, but am I actually qualified to sit down and have a debate about this topic, or do I just have my opinions and thoughts about a thing? And if you're not necessarily qualified, then you need to kind of preamble a lot of the stuff by saying, "Yeah, this is what my opinion is. I may be wrong, but this is my opinion." And then that gives a license for people to either affirm what your opinion is and say, yeah, that's actually valid, or hey, have you looked at it like this? Because what's the quote? John Heinrich Clark said, I'm pulling it up now because I have to get it right. I only debate my equals, all others I teach.
God damn! I gotta write that down. No, I gotta write that down. Stop. Hold on.
I'll pull it up on the screen too.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Debate. Oof.
I only debate my equals, all others I teach. John Heinrich Clark. Um, and it's really interesting because I've been in, like, there are things I do have a level of knowledge is. There's some things I may even drift into kind of specific expertise on. Okay. When I'm talking to people about that kind of stuff, I'm in my bag and I'm comfortable having that debate. But then I also am comfortable stepping away from it, because I can say, okay, we like our knowledge level, our baseline knowledge level doesn't match and it doesn't align. And you're taking what you believe against what I actually know to be true. And those two things aren't real, because my experience actually gives me a level of knowledge and insight in this subject area that you don't have. And I understand that, but there's also incidences where I'm that person. And I've kind of trained myself to say, I don't have to form an opinion on a thing. I'm not addicted to having an opinion on stuff. And so sometimes I have to check myself and say, you're forming an opinion about something that you don't really know. And
Right. Or at
and
least not know enough of.
yeah, and basically, Brian, stop it. Like, stop, because you're forming an opinion on something that you don't actually know, and whatever opinion you form based on your lack of knowledge is going to be bad.
Yep.
So reserve opinion on this thing until you can come with an informed opinion. And I think the reason why I say our discourse on the internet, specifically regarding this stuff, is cooked, is because of that very thing. We are so addicted to having opinions on things, whether we are fully aware of it or not. I've had people that in one breath it says, I don't have an opinion on vaccines, but here's what I think about vaccines. How are you doing this?
Uh,
How are you doing this? I don't have an opinion on corporal discipline, but here's what I think about corporal discipline.
right.
Here's my opinion. I don't have an opinion on it, but I don't have an opinion, or I don't have a knowledge of it, but this is what I'm going to do. I've had this argument where somebody was sitting there trying to tell me that Scared Straight programs worked. I said, there's mountains and mountains and mountains of data that disprove that. Well, I don't care. Well, but I'm also telling you, as somebody who actually worked in youth criminal justice and had to do alternatives detention homes, and this is part of the ground knowledge that I had to study in order to create a program that actually worked to benefit kids. And here are my outcomes. I have multiple kids, blah blah blah, success stories and all this other stuff. And it was so locked in that they had to be right. They had to win the interaction.
Right.
They had to win the interaction. It wasn't about whether they were factually correct. It was about winning the interaction. And I realized at that point, like, okay, there's no point in going back and forth with this person. They are so invested in what they believe that it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. It's what they believe.
Okay, so if you go into what I'm looking at here, the quote, and this is what I was thinking, is often associated with John D. Rockefeller.
Let me put it full screen here. Okay.
Okay, so when he says, the quote is, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers, is often linked to John D. Rockefeller's views on education. However, there is no evidence that Rockefeller ever said this. The quote persists that it aligns with the goals of the General Education Board, which he funded. Now, I actually bought the book that they're talking about, and that statement is in there. But that statement and the book itself is not from him. What they were talking about was hold on one second. If you look at like down at the words of Rockefeller's advisors, the intent behind GEB's mission is arguably better represented by his Rockefeller's business partner, advisor, and head of GBD, Frederick T. Gates.
I've heard that name before.
Who outlined a vision focused on training people for practical tasks rather than intellectual pursuits.
Mm-hmm.
Gates' statement, the goal was to organize children and to teach them to do things in a perfect way, that things that their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way. So all he's saying, he's teaching them to be better than what their parents were. That's it. And it doesn't just mean intellectual. Here's the thing. After World War II, everybody got a chance to start going to college. We know for a fucking fact, hey, we can take that off now.
Okay,
We can here.
I got it.
Did I remove it? Nope, I did. Sorry. Damn, why is our thing so big?
I clicked on the
There
wrong
it
one.
is. Okay. But we know for a fact that not everybody should be in college. College is not for everybody. But they're trying to sell us on, hey, in order for you to have a better life, you need to go to college. What he's saying is, what's wrong with trade schools? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with doing this thing over here
Mm-hmm.
on a major level? That's what they're talking about. They're not telling you that we want to be the only people that are rich. Cool. Nobody gives a shit. All they're saying, and again, he could have actually meant it that way. He very much could have. But all they're saying is, why spend your time being a thinker as opposed to being a doer?
Yeah.
Your parents are able to do ABC, but we need XYZ done. So our objective is to better you because of them, and your objective should be to have your children better than you.
Yeah.
So that's what the guy was talking about. But again, think about that. If we would have just looked at that statement, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. So somebody said, well, John D said this. He never said that at all. So again, let's go back to our fact checking thing. Show me where he said that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, guess what? Out of those five fucking sources, your shit stops at the second one. Because now we just proved that he didn't say that. I don't need to cross reference the information because we found out right then and there that he didn't say that. I don't need to look for a consensus. I don't have to look for contradictions. I don't have to look for missing context because he didn't say it.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the other one? Evaluate the source's credibility. I don't have to because he never said it.
Right.
So conclude and document. He never said it. Or you can't prove that he did. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? A person may say this and the other, but then, okay, then you go back to the other one. When did that person say that? Now we can start talking about a person's character. Now we can talk about their integrity. But again, if you meet five different people, they five different people may be giving you five different answers. Fuck, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if such and such likes you or not. I know I don't fuck with you, but I don't know if they do. Yeah, you
Right.
feel me?
I
That's
feel
all
you.
we're saying. So when it comes to that, and I love that shit, I'm gonna use that from now on, especially in my coaching. But my our point to what we're talking about today, which is how to debate me, culture broke discord. Again, like you said before, debating is not fact.
Right.
Debating is argument. So we can say who has the best argument. That would sound even that would sound good to me because and again, what is argument? What are we arguing? Are we arguing truth?
Right.
No, this is not arguing truth, not whatsoever. Is this arguing fact? No, just because you have a better argument than me. Listen, a person can argue all day long how Jesus existed and this that, and the other, and I still don't believe that shit. Why? Because I don't. I mean, Jesus could tell me himself. He can show the fuck up. Hey, I'm here. Ha ha ha. All that, all that shit happened. All right, deuces. Give me my shit. Give me some dapping and he out of here.
Right.
The fuck? What are you talking about? You say you
Well,
can't prove that shit one way. I can't prove he existed. Just like you can't prove that he did not.
what
Cool.
was old boy was a smack. I gotta pull the video where basically he's like, he basically he's kind of giving it from his own perspective, but he's like, yeah, and I'm using shorthand and it's a very profane thing, but if you look it up, it's hilarious. But basically he's saying, somebody will sit there, well, God is above man's understanding and blah blah blah, and then he's like, in the next breath, you're talking about, well, God said this, God said that, and he's like, he got my number directly. He ain't say all that, and so there's a lot more to it, but if you get a chance, look it up.
What is it?
It's called. I'll see if I can pull it up here. It's gonna get like people. If people are watching, it's gonna piss them off. But I'll put it. I'll pull it up here in a second.
It's called trial and error. Fuck them. They'll be all right.
So I'll look it up. But anyway, it's one of those things where he's actually really articulating an intelligent point, because he's like, on one hand, you're telling me that this thing is unknowable, but on the other hand, you're telling me that you know it. So which one is it?
Right.
Which lane are you occupying? And I think a lot of times, people fall so in love with their own thinking that they don't quite necessarily, they don't quite, I don't know, they don't really quite parse what's being said. They fall in love with their thinking, and then there's no tie to any kind of, well, is this factual or not? Is this do I actually believe in something that's real?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times people just conflate, like they miss the point of being able to use your mind. Like, using your mind is great to form ideas and opinions, but it's also really important to actually have that factual basis. I'm pulling this up here because I'm kind of just going and rambling here. Let me pull this up so I can show you what I'm talking about, because I'm just trying to fill time here until I can get this up. There's 3 Instagram. There it is. That's it right there.
Should be, bitch ass nigga. Do you know who the fuck is you, nigga?
Oh my God.
Boy told me to take. God ain't tell your bitch ass thing, because he got my number directly, hoe ass nigga. So look, if God is all that, the
Smack.
fuck is we talking about, nigga?
Smack. Do you
fuck up on my face?
Smack.
And this is not brought to you by Gatorade, but it should be, bitch ass nigga.
Do you know?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah,
I shut that shit off. Yeah.
And so, but the reason why I'm saying that is, in all the profanity and all over top stuff, there's a point that to be made with that, because he's basically saying which one is, because before the question was, he's like, well, it's a unknowable mystery, but let me tell you what he said, though, because it's a subtle manipulation. You don't have the intellectual capacity. That's what he's saying. You don't have the intellectual capacity to assess this thing. So let me tell you, because I have the intellectual capacity, but then you don't have any proof. You don't show your work. Does that make sense? And I think that's kind of the ongoing theme of it. We're finding a lot of experts that don't actually have expertise. They just got a platform and they got an audience. Charlie Kirk. What does Charlie Kirk know?
Obviously, God, statistics, facts.
What's the factual basis for that, though?
Him. His thinking.
Yeah.
And he said.
Yeah, exactly. So what, and that's where I'm going with it. How does he have this knowledge? How did he come about this knowledge? Was it through study? Does he have any academic credentials to display this level of knowledge about Black history?
But again, though, even with that said, let's say that he had multiple PhDs. Does it still mean that he knows what he's talking about?
No, because just because you have a PhD in one area, and that's the thing, I get into it about Thomas Sowell all the time with people.
Shit, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Where people throw Thomas Sowell in your face. And one thing I got to say about this, because this is one of the topics on my live stream. One of the things about Thomas Sowell is he's not necessarily, he's an economist, but he's not even really respected in the world of economists. Like, they don't really respect what he says. Like it doesn't even carry weight there. He's an intelligent man. I'm not saying that. But just because you're intelligent in one frame doesn't mean that you're an expert in another frame. You know, I say this, lawyer is not a doctor. Right? And a lot of times we confuse people being successful in one frame, meaning that they have this universal knowledge and they're able to just figure everything out. And that's not really the case. A good example of that is Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson opines about a lot of stuff where he has no concept of what he's talking about. But because he's intelligent in one frame of his life, possibly, I don't know, but he's intelligent in one frame where he's recognized as a scholar in one frame of his life. People assume that he's expert in all frames of life, and that's not what that means. That's not how that works. That's not how expertise works. And that's one of the issues I take issue with a lot of the pundits online. What was it on CNN? I don't even know why they had her on there. The lady from The Biggest Loser.
Hey, Jessica, if you're watching, I think our neighbors are getting a divorce.
Oh, is that bad?
Huh?
They beefing?
Like, he walking out with all her stuff.
Hey, swing the camera over there. No, I'm just playing.
I'll show you. Like,
but the lady from The Biggest Loser was on CNN, right? Now, what would if you have Julian Michaels from The Biggest Loser, and she's supposedly an expert in weight loss and everything, even though that claim has been proven to be dubious too. What would you think she would be talking about?
Weight loss.
Right. Do you think she would be talking about slavery in the American theater? The American
I wouldn't even be bringing it up.
Okay, so why was
she? I wouldn't even be bringing it up.
So why was she on the panel discussing chattel slavery in North America?
Oh, why was she? What was she talking about?
That's the magic question. So basically, she was saying that you can't talk about, like, basically she's trying to make this weird point about imperialism and how you can't just ascribe imperialism to the American way of life, and talking about slavery and talking about only a specific percentage of white folks own slaves. But she's
Correct. She's right.
But well, here's what it is. Here's what I'm gonna say. So the number that she gave was like 3 or 5%. But you have to, when you remove the North out of that baseline number, the number goes up. When you remove the enslaved people out of that baseline number, the number goes up. So it's a much larger percentage than what she said.
So here's the thing. The greatest thing that I love that Dr. Claude Anderson talked about. He said, as soon as you bring up race and slavery, argument's over. It's over. He said the reason why is because most white people will say, I wasn't around then.
Yeah.
I whatever my great-grandfather did, that's on them. I ain't got shit to do with that. You're very much right. I agree. Slavery had absolutely, it did not start off with the thing for black people. It wasn't personal, right? Today it is, because you have nothing else to, you ain't got nobody else to blame. Give me a second.
Yep. All right.
My point is this. It was financial, which is the reason why it still upholds to this day. People from back in the 1800s are still making money in the 2000s because of what happened during the 1460s, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s. And then when you say, well, slavery ended in 1865, okay. And then you have Reconstruction, okay? And then you have, what is it, sundown towns, and then you had Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
So you go from being a fucking demigod for the most part to um being petty as fuck. And I always looked at it like this: we should have been. They Here's the thing, and this is how I can show and prove what I'm talking about. After slavery, do you remember what was that called? The Homestead.
Homestead Act.
Homestead Act. When did that happen?
I can pull it up, and I need to pull up something else
Go
too.
ahead. So pull up Homestead, right? When the US
1862.
1862. Do you know why they were doing the whole homestead thing? And you got to remember, this is before slavery ended. How long did what's the Homestead Act for? It started in 1862, but when did they cut it off?
I don't know. Wait a minute. Did my camera cut off? Did my mic's something dinged on my end? I'm not seeing it right now. It's gonna take a second to find that
Okay,
out.
no problem. Give me a second. I'll look that up.
Oh, final claims were made in Alaska in 1986.
Okay. So 4 years.
1986. 86.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
1886.
So it started in 1862, and the last claim was made in 1986.
In 1986.
Yeah, so it was over 100 years.
And that's all from the Homestead Act.
Yep.
1986.
Mm-hmm.
My point is that this was all happening even after slavery ended.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have gave us those 40 acres that they talked about. But here's the thing, acreage don't mean shit if you don't have some type of capital to keep it going. Right?
Right.
So that's the reason why it wasn't just 40 acres and a mule. It was 40 acres, a mule, and $100. Because they understood that without capital, you can have all this stuff over here. But if you don't have capital, what's going to keep you going?
Yeah.
You understand that?
That's true.
So here's the other point. Okay, why did I go there?
Well, okay, so the thing, and I want you to finish your point before I throw my point out, because you're
That's
saying slavery wasn't necessarily personal; it was all capital based. That was your point.
At least early on.
Yeah,
that's how it started, because they needed workers, and they couldn't use the people that were already here. They couldn't, because they wasn't doing that shit, and you can't enslave. They tried enslaving Indians. That's like herding fucking cats. They not gonna stay where you need them to stay.
Well, and
you can employ them, but they're not gonna work for free, and they know the land better than you do.
And people were dying. Like, they couldn't keep populations alive because of the workload they put on them and the exposure to illness that they had and stuff like that, and lack of resistance. So there's a lot of other foundational reasons why they landed upon African slaves. Also, they already had a route established to get that, to access that labor. And so, like, there's a lot of business sides of it. The thing I'll throw in there is this. My estimation was it may have started completely as business in the super early stages, but you can't hold people in that level of bondage and deprive them of rights for that long without it becoming personal. You can't torture them.
100%.
And that,
because they became assets.
yeah, they became livestock.
Like literally, you don't want nobody coming and stealing your pigs.
Hmm.
You don't want somebody coming in and again. So a person may say that well, there's only a few people that were racist during that time. You're right. There's only, but just like today, there's only so many people who own cows. There's
Right.
so many people who own farms. But the people that own farms are also the same people that put fucking food on our plates.
Yeah.
So you can't sit there and keep saying that, I, I, we didn't have anything to do with it. I don't have anything to do with the butcher butchering a cow,
Right.
but I do benefit from it.
And that's the point. That's the point I wanted to make, because we were talking
I
about the
benefit
Homestead.
from that.
The Homestead Act excluded a lot of black farmers and made it impossible for them to exist. And it was on the books for so long that, yeah, that is a lingering impact of slavery, because what happened is they brought in that Homestead Act. They brought in a lot of immigrant and migrants to, people that were brand new to America, and incentivized them to build farms. And they ended up building a lot of wealth for themselves and got a lot of basically free and subsidized land. Plus they were educated on how to cultivate that land. And it was one of the largest handouts of all time. If you took it in today's dollars, you're talking about billions to trillions of dollars that was just randomly handed to a specific population. And other populations who could have benefited were completely singularly excluded from it. And so my point is, and this kind of goes to what I was saying, it does piggyback off your point. If you pull up something like the Stanford prison experiment, right?
By Zimbardi. I
Yep.
read that book. That was so good.
Yep.
So good.
And it talks about basically how once you designate a group of people as, classify them as something to be othered, then the natural human response, and it goes into enclosed cognition and all kinds of other stuff. The natural human response is to treat them as others and treat them as inferior. And so the fact that they ended up having to pull the plug on that study before somebody got killed, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to stop it because it was getting too real. And yes, there are critiques about the validity of it. And that's kind of one of the things that's great about science is science does always try to disprove itself. And so there have been subsequent studies that have sought to uproot the findings of this prison experiment, right? But basically, for those that don't know, if I'm talking over your head, basically they took a group of students and said one student was designated as the guards, the other students were designated as the prisoners, and some really depraved shit happened in those days where they monitored how the guards treated the students that were considered the prisoners. And it kind of served to show what it looks like when you otherize a group of people and put some people in imagined roles of authority, and how quickly that can shift. And so I'm looking at it from a national context of what slavery is. You've taken this population of people and made them enslaved people, and you ascribe them to a lower standard of life. Yes, it's going to turn personal real quick. And people are going to see this as well. And then you have generations born. You have generations of slave owners that were born and raised through the system, where they are born to perceive the people that they've enslaved as less than human. And
so here you go. And I just pulled it up. This and again, I want you guys to see this, because this shit is, to me, this is so serious, it's crazy. So how long was it supposed to last? I believe you mean the Stanford Prison experiment.
Yeah.
Curious about its intended duration, blah, blah, blah. So it was planned and actually duration, blah, blah, blah. It was detailed for 2 weeks. That's how long they were going to run it for.
Mm-hmm.
It was so horrible, it only lasted 6 days.
Yep.
The experiment was intended to run 2 full weeks, 14 days, as a controlled simulation intended to observe the psychological effects of imprisonment. However, it was It was cut short just after 6 days because the behavior of the guards had become disturbingly abusive,
Yep.
prompting urgent ethical concerns and early termination. It was so fucking bad that Philip Zimbardo, the person who created the whole thing, acted as the prison warden. And even he himself got into fucking character.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. Right? That's how bad it was. Hold on. If you're delving deeper into the ethical ramifications, participant reaction, or how Zimbardo and collaborators handled the early shutdown, just say the word and I'll gladly dive in with you. I already read the book years ago.
Hmm.
I remember it like it was yesterday. That's kind of one of those cool things my mind can do. And it's, dude,
Yeah.
that that book literally taught me what happens when there is no accountability
Yeah.
from the top down. And do you know how they picked the guards versus? 'Cause again, I read the book. Do
Okay.
you know how they picked the guards
I can't remember how they did it.
and who was going to be a prisoners?
I can't remember.
A coin toss.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Oh wow.
Flip of a coin. They had all their names and they just divvied them up. That was it. This person's going over here. That person's over there. That was it. There was no rhyme or reason to it. They all got the same exact. They all got the same exact. What was that? Newspaper clipping for the experiment.
Yep.
It was very vague. Didn't have a lot in there, and so they also brought him in when remember years ago, um, when those American soldiers had those Iraqi dudes in those that dog pile,
Yeah.
butt naked, doing weird shit.
Yeah.
They
I
called
remember
in
that.
Zimbardo to testify for one of the army people, to, one of the soldiers for that. And Philip told them, this is what happens when you have no accountability.
Right.
This is what happens. There's another book that I read called Kill Anything That Moves. It was about the war in Vietnam. What happens when you give a bunch of 19-year-old pubescent fucking nut jobs an assault rifle, send them off to a third world country, and tell them to kill anything that moves?
Right.
What type of people do you think are coming back here?
Right. And you condition them to be killers, like
And
you
you condition them to be killers in their own country.
and you don't give them any frame of reference. Like there's no off ramp. Like you're not
Nope.
there. There's no off. There's no because I do look at it like one of the challenges is when you bring vets home from foreign wars, there is no off ramp. You're not preparing them to reintegrate in society. You're just dropping them back in the pool and saying, okay, so now you have all these, all this reiterate, all this trauma that you're burdened with, and all these skills that you had to hone to survive, and we've kept you in this state of heightened arousal in terms of I could die at any moment kind of stuff going on. And I have to defend myself by any means to preserve, and you keep them in this state for however long the deployment is. And then you bring them home into a world that is the antithesis of that, that is the opposite of that. And you expect them to thrive or survive. You give them no off ramp. You provide them no mental health services. You just toss them back into society and say, okay, and now you can have a job. Here's a job. Here's some jobs that you can do. Businesses are giving you jobs, that businesses are opening up slots to help you have a job so you can pay the bills, but there is no service to allow them to reacclimate to society. I know this from how that is because I ran a home where I had to transition kids from living in jail to living in a home in society. You have to have an off ramp for people when you remove them from an environment where it's high stress all the time. There has to be an off ramp. And we don't do that. That's a service that we've failed so many veterans on. We've failed so many Black veterans on. We've actually lost people in our family behind this kind of stuff. It's a real thing. And I don't think people quite understand what you do. And that's what goes into it. When we talk about the Zimbardo experiment and stuff like that, when you label a group of people and say, this is the group of people and this is the characteristics that we're ascribing to them, and this is how they are treated, that has lingering impacts. I always joke, like, there are specific people in this country who have never evolved past being in ownership of Black people. Anytime
say that one more time.
There are certain people in this country that have never evolved past having ownership of Black people. And the reason why I say that is there are so many people out there that I mean, you Fearless, you've been outside in Black where somebody's tried to police. Why are you here? Where they almost check you to make sure that you're okay. They want to check up on you. I've had that literally happen. Can I help you? No. Well, do you need anything? No, I don't. I'm just out here existing in my own skin, minding my own business. I've had strangers try to police my actions when I was just minding my business. I've had white folks walk up to me and literally touch my hair without saying, like, I got long hair. Just walk up and touch my, like, what are you doing? Can I just walk up and touch you? In what world is that? What world is that okay? You're a stranger to me, but you're up here physically try to touch my kid's hair. What are you doing? You see what I'm saying? And so that's where that comes from, where you feel like you have the ability to just decide that somebody's personal boundaries are mute. You assume that you have a level of ownership over them. That's something that comes from the history of how Black people have been in this country. You know, listening to the stories my mom used to tell, even growing up in Omaha, about some of the crazy stuff that happened as a Black child in Omaha, interfacing with the white community. And segregation in Omaha was slightly different, but not much. Some of the things that used to happen to them was crazy. And so that's why I'm saying there's a certain segment of the population where they've never evolved to see Black folks as real equals. They think that they have some authority on them just based on skin color. They feel like they have I have authority over you to dictate what you do and how you maneuver and how you navigate this space because I'm white and you're Black. And people think we're making it up, but Fearless probably has stories about it. I know I have stories about it where you're just minding your own business and somebody decides to insert themselves into it. Even when I was a teenager walking around the mall, I had a job. I had money. I was going to the mall to shop and security guards following me to every store. To the point where I turn around like, do you want me to buy you something, bro? Like, why are you following me? You see I have money. You see I'm going out to buy. I'm back to school shopping. I took my summer money to go buy clothes. Why are you following me around here? Well, just make sure that you're not up to anything.
I honestly can't say I've ever had that experience.
I've been
but again, that's me.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
Yeah.
Never.
I've been pre-policed. One time it was we were in college and I think the lady was something was off with her. But she literally, we're sitting there, we're at Village Inn eating, and this lady walks up to our table. She's not a staff, she doesn't work there. She walks up to our table. And I'm sitting there eating, and one of my boys looks up like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "You better pay." What? Yeah, you better pay. I know you guys. You'll just walk out of here and not pay. What? How? What? You get where I'm going with this? Like, that level of the temerity to walk up to a group of strangers and try to enforce rules on them of an establishment that you don't work for. You don't even work here. There was a random person that decided to deputize themselves and walk up and police my actions.
Say deputize themselves.
And so I feel like that is one of the things that, we talk about, was it de facto segregation versus de jure segregation, where one is segregation by law, the other one is segregation by choice, but it's still law. Essentially, it's an unwritten law, it's unwritten rule. It's an unwritten rule
I
in
like them sundown towns.
Yeah, it's an unwritten rule in Omaha that Black people live in North Omaha, and Latino people live in South Omaha. It's an unwritten rule, but it's a rule, but it's unwritten.
Right, and then poor white people live out in Carter Lake, East Omaha.
In East Omaha. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And all the rich people live out west.
Right. But then you go and look at North Omaha, and it's like there's almost as many white people in North Omaha as there are Black people. Matter of fact, I think there's more. But the unwritten rule is if you are Black in Omaha, you live in North Omaha.
And which is really crazy because even off of 30th over by where Godfathers is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Florence. Yeah, in Florence.
Florence. If you go across the street over where Baker's and shit is, houses look crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If you go behind Godfathers, you wouldn't even think that was North Omaha.
Oh, Florence is a historical district, bro.
Like, that's beautiful over there.
Oh, yeah.
And right across the street, I'm like, God damn.
Well,
but then if you go up over by like Miller Park, Kansas, shit like that, and then you start kind of like, whatever. But all in behind that Florence area, all behind going into Carter Lake.
Yeah.
Fucking beautiful.
Well, and the other side is if you continue on down 30th and go past 680, you take that up, you're going to run into mansions. You're going to literally drive into a big.
You talk about if you keep going straight on 30th, you pass the library, the Mormon Bridge, you say keep going.
Yeah.
Kind of like you go into like Boys.
Not Boys
Town. What is that?
Utah,
yeah.
The old Utah.
You talking about go all the way up there.
If you're driving up 30th, once you get north of the interstate, if you continue on that path, you're going to run into mansions. There are mansions up there. I've taken my kids there for look at Christmas lights and stuff. There are mansions up there, like big, like Hollywood style mansions that you would see up there. And so one of the interesting things about it, and this was a live stream topic, but one of the interesting things about it is the way that they did the interstate system in Omaha really shows the residual impacts of racism. And when people talk about environmental racism or structural racism or architectural racism, this is kind of what it was. So the interstate as it exists, the North Freeway, was literally dropped right in the middle of the Black community of North Omaha, the historic Black community. A lot of my family's houses and stuff like that, where my family grew up, where my mom and her cousins all grew up, the churches, a lot of the schools, a lot of the businesses that existed there are buried under the North Freeway.
You talking about everything was off like 24th Street, shit like that, and that's the reason they plopped that shit.
They plopped it right there. And the reason why the interstate ends right where it does, where it cuts off at 30th Street, right by Fort Omaha. The only reason it stops there is because historically that was the white side of town. They stopped it there because those people there said, you will absolutely not put this interstate here. So that's why the interstate doesn't connect. That's why you can't get off the North Freeway and head over and have a highway that goes all the way to 680. It turns into 30th Street. Because those people over there said, absolutely not. You will not put this here. You're not going to knock down our houses and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And so
hold on. Stop. So you talking about like if I want to take. Oh, dude. So when you get off on, what is that, 680?
Yeah. And you get off.
Because it stops right at 30th.
Yeah.
And then you have to go through 30th all the way down past Florence to get on the interstate to get off somewhere to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to
the airport.
The airport.
Yep.
Damn, I never thought about that.
So they stopped it. If you look up you could look up some of the historical records. There was huge protests. Black people were protesting because it's like they're knocking down our homes. You're literally taking our property and burying it under all this concrete, and we're not getting any kind of money for it or anything. You took an entire black population of people, and this was like the 70s, bro. Like this ended in the 70s. And so you're taking this entire population and making them nomads in this city, giving them nothing in exchange for it, and then just shoving them along the way. So a lot of homes that would have been passed down, a lot of businesses that could have been inherited by people are buried under that freeway. And that's one of Omaha's, that's one of the sins of Omaha. That's one of the things. That's why when you look at the population and the way that wealth is in this city and way it's well distributed, a huge one population of this one specific population had generational wealth actually extracted from them forcibly with no kind of consideration when they dropped the North Freeway in that neighborhood. Because think of all those homes that people could have passed down, all that land and stuff that could have been passed down from one generation to the other. And when you look at it, how fortunes are determined in this country, a lot of times it comes from inheritance. It comes from grandpa left us the house. We can either live in it for free or we can sell it and go flip it into our own house. You know what I'm saying? Or I can put a mortgage against this second house and fund my business. Like a lot of wealth was created in that way. That's how a lot of middle-class people have elevated themselves above historically in this country. Well, there's an entire population of Black Omahans who never had that opportunity because they were turned into renters. That's a heavy thing. I just threw that in there. But yeah, that's the structural side of it. That's when we talk about environmental racism. That's the thing. Environmental racism is the fact that we got that coal factory that's sitting in North Omaha. That wouldn't exist any other place in this city. Structural racism. There's a reason why there are listening towers all over North Omaha for the police. They wouldn't put that in West Omaha. When I lived in West Omaha, you know how many gunshots I heard?
No.
All the time.
Really?
Because the boys are just out there. There's nowhere around. People could just let off. Like we heard gunshots all the time when me and my wife lived in West Omaha, bro. But they didn't have no listening towers. They didn't have shot tracker there, shot spotter or whatever that thing is called. They didn't have that there. But North Omaha is the only place in this town where it's okay to have listening towers on some of the light poles for the police. And they'll say it's for gunshots. It's like, so you think these things can only hear gunshots? Like literally, you think this thing can only hear gunshots? That's the only thing it can hear is gunshots. Because a lot of times I've seen it where it actually deployed the police to a drill team. Drill team was practicing outside, hitting the drums, and they deployed the police there.
I mean, with the boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that.
But that's what I'm saying. What other part of town would have that? Where the residents wouldn't raise hell?
Do we have that here in Bellevue?
I don't think you guys have shot. I don't think you guys have it over there.
What about Papillion and La Vista?
I don't see it. I remember sitting in the meeting where the guy was talking about where all the shot tracker, all the shot spotter stuff was. And it was in North Omaha. It's situated around North Omaha. And nobody asked, why isn't this in West Omaha? Because there's gunshots out there. People get shot out there. People just let off guns out there. New Year's in West Omaha, it sounded like an invasion happening. And so, but they wouldn't have that out there. And so that's what we talk about. And so that's a far aside of what we were talking about. What I'm saying is, in my contention, and I'm bringing it back here, our discourse, internet has fried our discourse, our ability to debate and communicate with one another, because it turns every interaction, every online interaction with somebody into a contest, as opposed to an exchange of ideas.
I mean, but you're right. But again, most of the time, these aren't even ideas. These are facts redistributed, and spewed out with shit missing and things added. Like, you know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
They're half-formed thoughts. They're not even completely formed. It's somebody making a snap, somebody expressing a snap opinion based on something that they heard. They heard something and now they want to form an opinion about it because they can't help themselves. because they're addicted to opinions. And so that's what a lot of this debate me bro stuff is. I seen it online, actually experienced it earlier today where somebody's talking about woke and what wokeism is. And I'm like, well, woke is a term that's been around since Harlem Renaissance, been used in the black community. And initially I replied with just, oh, you just made that up, a little meme or whatnot. And they're like, well, if you would actually say something, then if you would actually give your opinion on this, then we could actually have an intelligent debate about it. I'm like, all right, so here's what I'm really going to say about it. And instantly they started name calling and I'm stupid and all this other crazy shit that came out. I was like, so you never had any intention on actually having a conversation. You're just trying to win an interaction. Because my original comment was, well, they're like, oh, you're just replying with a meme. And my comment was, well, why waste words on an insipid conversation? Like, why waste wise words on something this insipid? And they were never looking for a debate. They weren't looking for an exchange of ideas. They weren't looking to be persuaded. They were looking for a sparring partner. And I think a lot of times that's what we do in this country. And online discourse has been shaped down to that. When you see Shapiro or who was your boy that you named earlier, Charlie Kirk, even when they're on the poll, even when they're on stage in front of a crowd at a college, man, they ain't up there to debate. They're up there to scream. They're up there to run off a whole litany of points and bombard somebody with it and not necessarily debate the context of what they were saying. So that's why I say this thing is cooked, bro. That's why I think the concept of discourse in this country is cooked. So anyway, Fearless. Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't that what it is, though?
What?
So isn't that what it is? Like, I think that people are just kind of like that, though. My guy, like, I watched this dude named Discourse. Do you ever watch him? DOSS. He's on Instagram. I don't know what his actual name is, but
I'll look him up.
And I guess he's from out of Chicago. And he just, I love his contribution. I guess his name is Joshua Doss.
Mm-hmm.
And he does like a lot of, he's a political, he does like a lot of polls.
Okay.
And stuff or whatever. And
pollster?
He does. Yeah. Yep. And I love watching him because he'll give you a lot of information, but he gives it to you from the fact, go look at it. Go look it up yourself. This is where I got it. Go check it out. And basically what he does is he just kind of, one of his things is, I'm new to politics, help me.
I'm following him.
Yeah. It's amazing. Stop and smell the data. What nobody tells you about being an adult, Trump supporters are one step ahead. How does this not piss you off? My research in the Washington Post, he just talks about just different stuff. And I think that that's truly amazing. I think that that's amazing stuff. Hey, what's up with your what's up with clothes?
So I'll give it a shout. I'm gonna give it a listen and see what happens, man. I'm gonna give it a listen and kind of, hopefully, I can have some takes on it after I kind of go into his channel and kind of see.
I think you'll like it.
Okay.
I think you'll like it. I've also been, or more of a personal note, I have finished. I wanted to give you my book journey right quick, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So when was the last time I saw you?
Last week, I think. I've been up to my eyeballs, so I think it was last week.
Well, yeah, no, that.
So
last Monday.
Yep.
No, sorry, last Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yep.
Okay. So I finished this book, Grapes of Wrath.
Mm-hmm.
Out of a score, I gave this thing out of 5, right? I gave it a 4.7 out of 5. This book was so amazing, dude. So good. So I have read since last I started. I think I started this book on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
finished it Tuesday, right? So one, two, no longer human. Foster, three, short stay in hell. Very interesting. Gave it a 4.2. The Ark Conspirator, which gave this one a 3.5 out of 5. This one gave 4.2. And then I just finished this one last night, 2 days ago. Sorry.
Okay.
You seeing this?
Yeah.
The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This one was really good. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I finished 7 books since the last time I saw you.
Oh wow.
7.
So you back in your bag. You back in the book reading bag.
Man. Seven books. 7 books. Like all these. And some of them are like really short storied ones or whatever. But yeah, I finished 7 books in a very short amount of time. Now again, like I keep trying to tell people, the amount of books, oh my gosh. There's another one that was so good. Bro, you gotta get this. This right here.
Which one?
This one, oops, this is called A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid.
Okay.
That- if a person ever really wants to know what America is and what America has been to other people, read this book. Here's the thing, dude. This book is only 81 pages.
Jamaica Kincaid, right?
Yes,
Okay.
this book is literally 81 pages. I'll put this in the top 3 books that I've read this year. Top 3 books I've read this year. Jamaica Kincaid, A Small Place. This book was so good. I would suggest anybody who likes to fucking think read this. One of the things that this book talked about that I absolutely enjoyed was page 34. Dude, look at this. I don't know if you can, I should have redlined him. But if it's a really good book, I highlight stuff. Most of this book is highlighted
Okay.
of stuff that I had to. So listen to this. It says, have you ever wondered to yourself, why is it that all the people like me? Oh, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. Okay, here it is. Because the way her writing style is, it's a bit kind of like theirs so is. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of Yoda. So give me a sec. Have you ever wondered to yourself why it is that all people like me seem to learn from you is how to imprison and murder each other, how to govern badly, and how to take the wealth of our country and place it in a Swiss bank account. Have you ever wondered why it is that we seem to learn from you is how to corrupt our societies and how to be tyrants? So the question is if I were to go, hold on, sorry. So, and I love this because what is what it's asking is, what have I learned from you? If I were to go to another country,
Mm-hmm.
and I were to if I were to step foot on that country, and I would have taken everything I've learned in America and I'd taken it somewhere else, what am I going to do to that country?
Try to turn it into a microcosm of where you're from.
So that means if you don't listen, so that means if I need labor, what am I going to do?
You're gonna go ahead and extract it. You're gonna use whoever is available and exploit them.
And if I get any pushback, what am I going to do?
Oh, you're gonna violently suppress it because that's the blueprint that you grew up with.
So I love how they said, and then one of the things, hold on. Oh my God. Hold on, let me see. Number 37. She said, hold on. Hold on, blacks versus blacks. Okay. School race the truth. She said, well, listen to this. She said, people like me cannot really think in abstract. People like me cannot be objective. We make everything personal. You will forget your part in this whole setup. That bureaucracy is one of your bureaucracy is one of your inventions. That gross national product is one of your inventions. And listen to this. And all the laws that you pass mysteriously favor you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why people like me are shy about being capitalists? Well, because we, for as long as we can, that's as far as we know, as far as we've known you, and as long as we've known you, we were your capital. So, like bales of cotton and sacks of sugar, and you were the commanding, cruel capitalist. And the memory of this is so strong that the experience is so recent that we can't bring ourselves to embrace this idea because of what you've done to us. And so, I, dude, no periods of time over which my ancestors held sway, no documentation of complex civilizations is in any comfort to me. Even if I really came from people who were living like monkeys in trees, it was better it was better to be that than to be what happened to me and what I became after I met you.
Oh wow.
This
And it comes
81 pages.
and it comes from was it her growing up in Antigua and it kind of experiencing the tourism industry um as part of the indigenous people of that island.
I'm just telling you, dude. Like
Yeah.
this book is.
So huge recommendation for Fearless.
Listen, if you want to, I would suggest anybody who can't sit still long enough to really go through a Michelle Williams type of book, or who doesn't want to read what's his name, Ta-Nehisi Coates,
Oh, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, or whatever, or any other big thick ass Harry Potter race book. This one right here will be suffice.
I'm putting it on the screen, Fearless.
This book is so good. Like I said, 81 pages. That's it. It is 81 1 pages.
So I'm putting it on the screen so y'all can see it. Hold on one second. Um, yep, it's A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid.
Like I'm telling you, and it really comes from looking at your native land. If you were a tourist, looking looking at it from the native,
Mm-hmm.
it's versus a tourist mindset. Excuse me.
When it changes the way that it could change the way that you, even as a black person, the way that you experience your tourist experiences. Because goes back into the weirdest thing. I got into an argument with a passport bro about this. Like, there's a level of where what you're doing is based on exploitation of the native population. Oh, I'm not doing that. No, it is. It is, and that's a lot of it. A lot of your travel hinges upon that.
What is
Um,
passport, bro?
Oh, the guys that they've decided that they can't find, and it's not. I don't want to be because a lot of it's been tied to just black people who travel, and that's not really what it is. Passport bros are dudes that will travel to another country for the purposes of having sex or finding relationships with women of those countries, and typically it's impoverished countries or whatnot. And so,
So
um,
they go to like India, Thailand, shit like that or whatever, because they got money and they don't.
yeah, and they want to. They're there to find a wife or find a girlfriend or whatnot. And more times than not, it turns into you're looking to have somebody to kidnap that's going to bear your children or whatnot. And they don't understand that sometimes these women are experienced with Americans. They just run the women there are running game on y'all too. Um, yeah, if you don't know, but there's on some levels that well, not on some levels that's exploitative. Like, you're going there just to coerce these women into having sex with you because you have money, and that's the express reason they do it. And then it's always a lot of them are, well, American women are this, American women are that, and it's like, well, or if you just don't have game, then just say that you don't have game.
Or if you're an incel, just say
Yeah,
you're an
it's
incel.
just an incel. If you're an uninteresting person, just say it. Say that you have no luck with women in the United States, and you have to go find. You have to you travel the
You
world in
have to
hopes that you're
travel.
gonna.
You have to travel abroad to go get abroad.
Yeah, and that's and that and don't think. And I've told cats, like, don't think that you can wander into some of these countries. Like, there's cases of these bros getting jammed up in serious ways. Like, the little Brazilian girl is inviting you over to her crib, and you going into the hood of Brazil, thinking that you're gonna get some,
And the favelas.
and then next thing you know, they send in that letter to your family asking for $10,000. So you get caught up really quick. And it's not just brothers that are doing it. There are lots of white dudes that do it. I mean, 90 Day Fiance built an entire um, franchise of, specifically some of the dudes on there that were doing that stuff. Um, just traveling abroad in hopes of uh, getting some young girl that doesn't that, and then they find out that this person that they brought over there is a little bit hipper than they are. They're wiser to the situation than they are. Anyway, so okay, so go check out that book. I'd have some stuff that I've been kind of reading up on. One that I'm going back into Robert Cialdini's influence.
Hmm.
Um, that is one of the definitive books in terms of persuasion and stuff like that. It really is an amazing book. So I'm rereading that, and I'm also reading what was that book called? It's about social engineering. And for those that don't know what social engineering is basically human hacking. And with the black hat human hackers are the ones that are out there trying to steal stuff out of your bank account by getting you to give up, compromise you into giving their password or clicking on a link that you're not supposed to. The white hat social engineers are the ones that are running the penetration tests, and they go and test businesses to make sure that their security is on point. And so I'm reading that just out of fascination. And and they kind of mentioned how a lot of times people who have behavioral health backgrounds kind of thrive in that field. And so I'm seeing if that's something I want to add to my basket of services. And so the destination might end up me going back and getting my cybersecurity certification. Um, from going back to school for my security stuff, and then going through the course of doing the social engineering thing. But the book I'm reading is um, I'm reading the second edition of Social Engineering: The Science of Human Hacking. I'm actually reading the second one, which is the art of human hacking. Well, no, actually, it's the science of human hacking. I'm on the second edition, by Christopher Haganey. You want me to? I'll put it up on the screen here.
Yeah, sure.
I'm doing the audio book. Probably going to get the hard copy here, so that I can make notes in it too. But that's the one. That's the book I'm on right now.
Okay.
And so the thing that got me down this rabbit hole was I had kind of been toying around with the idea of seeing where I could go with it, but I actually saw something on Scammer University on YouTube, and they had a young lady that was one of the top social engineers working. And if you don't know, on Scammer University, one of the hosts uses a pseudonym. He's not using his real name. And so she sat down in the chair, and the first thing she called him was by his real name, and then asked how his mom was doing, and then said his mom's real name. They bleeped it all out and everything. But basically she was establishing that, and she's like, you're not easy to find information about online. And so she's just showing you some of the tools and things that social engineers do to access your information online. One of the crazy things was she showed how, and I'll say this and then we can log off here. The setup was, she basically showed how spoofing somebody's phone number, and then using AI to dupe their voice, how people use that in a real world context. So basically, she used AI to spoof his phone number, and then used the AI voice filter to alter her voice to make it sound like him, and called one of his friends. And the question she asked his friend was, "Yeah, man. So, what was our middle school's mascot?" And he said something like the deer or something like that, and she said, "Got him." That answer was one of the questions to his bank account. So sometimes when you set up a bank account to access it online, they give you those trivia questions about what street did you grow up on. That was one of the answers to something on his bank account, and she's showing how easy it was, because basically hacking doesn't happen on the computer level, it happens on the human level, because we're the softest target. So anyway, I'm fascinated by that stuff, and I'm kind of seeing
that is kind of deep.
Yeah. So it's, if you get a chance, check it out. I think it's the most recent video on Scammer University on YouTube. It's a fascinating interview. Like, I was captivated by the whole thing, but it also prompted me to want to dig a little bit deeper. So I started rereading the Cialdini book, and then read up on the guy who actually invented the market for social engineering. And a lot of it's his stories about how he did penetration testing on larger corporations, and how they actually went undercover and actually accessed people's mail rooms and things like that.
No shit.
Well, companies hire him to do that. They hire his team to do that. And one of the things he says is, social engineering, I'm gonna tell you, it's not politically correct. It plays on people's stereotypes and what their expectations are of things. And so if you're infiltrating one place, you need to be a white guy. But if you're infiltrating another place, it helps being, a Latina woman or something along those lines. It's like, it's not politically correct. So anyway, that's the book I'm reading. I wanted to throw that out there. Fearless, do you have anything you want to plug here, man?
So this is the one that you're reading right now, the social engineering?
Yeah.
So like this, all the stuff that you were just talking about now, that's what you found out in the book.
Yeah. So it's partially the book, and then that interview was actually on Scammer University, and she's one of his students.
So this guy taught the woman who
was on Scammer University.
No shit.
Yeah.
So this right here is the science of human hacking.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of scary.
It is. That's why I want to get into it. I'm fascinated by it because it talks about basically how people get hacked for their personal details online, and also how corporations and these big businesses are getting hacked through their workforce and not through their computers.
Explain. And that's what this book talks about?
Yeah. So they gain access and confidence of the people that actually work in these major corporations to get access to your information. Sometimes those social engineering even happens where what was it? I forgot what website it was. It's one of those job sites.
I just bought it.
Yeah, it's one of those job sites.
I'll read it.
It's one of those job sites where they figured out the access point was all they need to do was send PDFs of fake resumes to this website, submit it, and it had the malicious link in it. And those once somebody at that business clicked on the link, they had access to all their computer systems.
Yeah, I don't just be clicking on shit.
So, but that's the concept they talk about, like, and that's what they talk about, the science and how, and he gives case studies and stuff, but then he also explains some of the different plays that they run. So I'm really interested in it, and it's something that it's enough for me to start looking at my options to go back and finish out some cybersecurity stuff.
Yeah,
get a formal education on some of this stuff. So anyway, so what do you got coming up, Fearless? Anything you want to plug?
I'm gonna read that goddamn book. I'm plugging that.
For me, I have my school community up and running. If you're looking at turning some of your experience, your job experience, into actual business opportunities for you, that's where I have the frameworks laid out for parlaying your skills into making money for you. And so I will post the link for my school community in the comments. But I do appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for sitting there and listening to us. We'll catch you guys next week, man. I'm Brian.
Fearless.
Talk to you later. I'm posting the link in the comments. Peace.